Okay, Chair, I can confirm you're live on YouTube.
Okay, thank you very much. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Biodiversity Task Group, our first meeting. The first item on the agenda is to appoint a vice chair. Do I have any nominations? Do you accept the nomination? I was expecting it to go the other way.
Councillor Bullen, I think he got in before me. I'm quite happy to accept it. I'm quite happy for him to take it.
I'm sorry to interrupt. Can you please ensure you use your microphones?
Didn't see that.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, I'm quite happy to accept that, unless Councillor Bullen would like to take it, in which case I'd be quite happy to second him. I'm really relaxed.
At the moment, there, I'm happy to nominate Councillor Dog.
Okay. I'm confused, but are you happy to withdraw your nomination just for expediency? Right, we have a nomination in Councillor Dark. Do I need a seconder, or do we just go straight to the vote?
Everyone agreed.
Is everyone agreed? Thank you very much. You're duly elected as vice chair. Thank you, Councillor Dark. That's on. Next, we have no members present under SO 34. We do have apologies, which do not seem to. Sorry, I haven't got one made.
We have apologies from Councillor Coons.
Thank you very much. Sorry, I've got a brief agenda to work to. Am I right to go next to declarations of interest? Excellent, thank you. Any declarations of interest? Okay, no declarations of interest. Then that's to agenda item 4, which is proposed terms of reference. I will go.
Chairman, there's no urgent business either.
Oh, sorry, thank you. Yeah, thank you. Do we have any urgent business?
No.
Okay, that's agenda item 5. Then we move to agenda item 6, which is proposed terms of reference. If I can invite Officer Ashworth to introduce this item, please.
Thank you, Chair. Just while I'm here, I'll just introduce you to Claire Wiggs. Claire is our senior ecologist working in planning. So those members who don't know who Claire is. Thank you, Chair. The terms of reference, really, the first part of it sets out background to the task group, and obviously it was Councillor Squire's notice of motion in September 2020. And that does form quite a lot of the terms of reference. The brief report also covers some other changes that have come into force really since, and the key one is the Environment Act, which is obviously the Environment Act 2021. And it talks about a biodiversity duty, and also brings into force the biodiversity net gain. I just add that the biodiversity net gain has been put back again to the end of January. It was due to come into force the 1st of January, but it's actually now been put back as the legislation's got to go through Parliament, and it won't be done till the end of January at the earliest. In terms of the terms of reference, you've got them in front of you, Chair. As I say, they do try and pick up the details of Councillor Squire's notice of motion, as I said, and add in some extra elements to that, culminating in recommendations to be made to the Environment Community Panel and Cabinet on potential biodiversity enhancements, with the inclusion of budget and resource implications of any recommendations. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. May I invite an explanation of the biodiversity duty at this stage before we go into discussion of the terms of reference? I think.
Thanks, Chair. So environment duty basically obliges us to report any actions on biodiversity This is primarily going to be biodiversity net gain actions since it's coming in, but it does also include any other strategies that we've got in place or any other policies. So the first report is due on the 1st of January, but that from the reporting front, it's going to be mostly what we've done so far to get ready for net gain. But there's also reporting duty, I think it's 2025 or 2026. So I have to double check that. But in that 26 report will be a lot more numerical quantitative data. So at that point, we'll be looking to submit a report on any net gain that's been lost and any net gain that's been achieved through off-site provision or on-site provision. But obviously at the moment with net gain not becoming mandatory yet, we don't have that information. So it will be us reporting on what we've done and what we intend to do to achieve the biodiversity targets.
Thank you, Officer Wiggs. I will invite discussion of the terms of reference. I think there's a more detailed discussion as that can be invited with when we talk about the draft work programme. But if we can restrict our discussion to the terms of reference, I'd be most grateful. Does anybody wish to speak? We're all happy. If I may just ask one further clarification. Is this something that we as a task group have to do? It says to agree policies and specific objectives under 1.4 with regards to the biodiversity duty. How are we expected to shape those, or is this still very much an open-ended question? Thank you.
I think at the I'm not entirely clear on your question, Michael, but I think at the moment it's sort of open-ended. So we need to publish the report. So that's what we're just trying to figure out, how that should be published and what mechanism that needs to take before it gets published. But there is some guidance that outlines what should be included, which I am happy to circulate after this meeting. But yeah, essentially we're not 100% sure on how it should be reported yet, but we do know what should be in the report.
Excellent. Thank you, Officer Wiggs. That would be most helpful if you could circulate the guidance outlines. It could come to a future meeting. Yes, perhaps the next meeting. Thank you. Councillor Bullen.
Thank you very much, Chair. If I could add one thing, I think we need to go above and beyond what is expected of us, just by obligation. I think we've got an opportunity here to make a huge difference, and it's not really just what our duty is. I think we need to take the initiative and offer a lead to West Norfolk. So I think it's vital to do that. We're probably coming on to the recommendations of the Urban and Wildlife Working Group, but that was first set up because the government recognised how important engagement in wildlife is during lockdown. So it's much broader than just biodiversity. And once again, I just think we need to take the lead and go above and beyond what is expected of us. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Duly noted. Hopefully we can have a little bit more discussion as we go to talk about the work programme. Can I, in the absence of any further indications, can I ask the panel, or sorry, the task group to agree the terms of reference? Thank you. Duly agreed. Item 7, which is the draft work programme. Somewhere. Has everybody seen the draft work programme? Yeah. Thank you. Do you want me to go through this item by item, or are you happy to just pick and mix on specific details.
Can I just make one point is that one thing I've always said, time is against us, and you know, we live in the seasons, and if we're talking about nesting or breeding, the next breeding season actually starts next month for some species. Migratory birds, they start nesting in probably March, so we haven't got time to lose. We've already lost a wildlife working group, and I think it's vital that we, as an element of urgency here, particularly with nesting birds. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, I appreciate that this is there is a certain amount of urgency to this. I think there are suggestions for a time frame of somewhere in the region of 6 months to report to E&C. Is that the sort of time frame people are looking at?
I'm realistic and practical, but I've got here this Swift brick leaflet which I've handed out, and I use swifts as an example. They are a keystone species. They rely on us 100% for their pretty much 100% for nesting in buildings. So we're once again going to lose another breeding season if we don't start taking action for swifts this year or this coming year. They start returning from Africa in May. They will be they've already prospected. They'll be prospecting again. We're building a swift tower in Downham Market, and we're putting other swift boxes up in Downham Market. There's no time to lose. We've got to start doing this before May.
Well, what I would say is that for the first meeting, we have put as the first item the Urban Wildlife Group recommendations. So perhaps this is it is appropriate. It does come in the first meeting. We have to decide dates of meetings. We're looking at somewhere between, say, monthly and 6 weekly intervals between meetings. Perhaps, given the urgency, you would like us to set the first meeting within, say, the next 4 weeks rather than 6 weeks. Would that be correct? Okay, so it's everyone agreed that we would set the first meeting?
Chairman, I can't guarantee that time frame. It just depends on what's available, room and diaries wise. So I'll try my best, but can't guarantee it.
So if we
Christmas in the middle.
understood, so if we try between 4 to 6 weeks, that's the best we can do. Okay, thank you. Do you want to set intervals for the remaining meetings at this session, or would you prefer to set the next meeting after we've had the meeting in 4 to 6 weeks' time?
I'm quite happy to set it by Sam, if Sam can give us a kind of a schedule of dates. And
Chairman, now I know that you want in sort of that time frame, I can go through and sort some dates out to come to you next time.
Okay, thank you. So we're looking perhaps meetings somewhere around 4 to 6 weeks with a view to are you happy with the proposed topics for each meeting under the proposed work programme? So we're going for the first meeting to look at the Urban Wildlife Group, and then biodiversity duty and biodiversity net gain, both of which seem to be the most pressing topics. And then moving towards biodiversity partnership, pollinator action plans and habitat protection in the second meeting, and then existing biodiversity activities and potential for habitat creation in both council buildings and public open space, and then the final one to finalise the recommendations. Does that seem a reasonable number of meetings? And sorry, Councillor Dart.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Just a couple of observations on it, and hopefully they make sense to people. I'm coming at this from a point of view myself, looking at the councillors around the room. I know we're all passionate and we want to do a good collegiate job on this, but there's probably a range in understanding around this subject, and it's how we bring ourselves up to hit the ground running as quickly as we can on this, given the Councillor Bullen saying around the timescales on it. One of the things for me around, if this is around biodiversity net gain, there's a bit around quickly understanding what point we're at the moment, because this is kind of benchmark year zero type thing. So we need to know where we are to know the impact. The other bit around it, I noticed in the terms of reference, which is quite helpful. It would appear that NCC, and there is an overarching biodiversity group somewhere sitting potentially above us. So as force multipliers of what we're doing, is there any chance of kind of having an induction programme for us from our officers or from those as early as possible in this programme, along the lines of what's everyone else doing, and where we might fit in, or where there are gaps that we might want to do more ourselves? Because what I wouldn't want to do is us kind of go off at a tangent or cut across when we might be able to dovetail straight into some of their stuff to get really good gains. And I think all of the programmes absolutely fine here, but the one that jumped out for me is if there's other groups working in this space, how can we actually grab hold of that quite quickly and understand that, if that makes sense?
Thank you, Councillor Dart. May
Yeah,
sorry, Officer Ashworth.
What we've done, the first two meetings, we've obviously there's the urban wildlife group, but there's also the biodiversity duty and net gain, and the idea is to do a little presentation on net gain, which Claire has done before, so to bring everyone up to speed on where we are with that, because it's going to be coming into play, and what it is, what exactly it is. It's actually probably not quite what you think. So it's not Swift boxes and the like. It's something completely different to that. That would be, it'd be kind of parallel to that. So we need to explain all that. We will do that fairly early on. And then the second one, yeah, as you said, it'll be Norfolk County Council seeing if they can. I mean, they've done presentations to E&C recently. Whether they can come, possibly Norfolk Wildlife Trust as well. Like you say, to see what else is going on in the partner organisations, really.
Thank you.
I agree with Councillor Dart, thank you, Chair, about engaging with other organisations which are involved. I've said in another meeting about, just a very crude way of putting, but mobilising volunteer organisations, which there are many out there, and then not only just boots on the ground, they've also got a lot of knowledge and a lot of input, and I think bringing everyone together is, I don't want to get beyond our brief, but the message out there of what we're doing and engaging with these organisations, there's a cost benefit there as well. A lot of people making nest boxes. I'm using nest boxes as an example again, but it's a good example. We can bring these people to help the aims of the biodiversity working group. So I quite agree with Councillor Dart.
Okay, thank you. So as we go through the work programme, am I correct in saying that you would like to put forward names of partner organisations or people who can speak to this task group?
I can do that. I'll do that for you. Yes.
Chair, but we've got contacts as well. Obviously,
yes.
Claire has. And I'm not sure you have with Norfolk Wildlife Trust, for example, and the county. There are peer groups across the county, so we have got those contacts.
Can I share with you my contacts, Claire, and then we can maybe put a list together? Would that help? Or?
Yeah, no, I think that's a great idea.
Yeah.
We're also collecting contacts, so try and keep it short. There's going to be an opportunity for developers to provide net gain offsite And we've got some big off-site providers that are coming forward in the county for quite large areas of habitat, quite distinctive habitat. So we're doing that as well, but yeah, I think that would be very useful to have a
Good. I'll send you
communal
this.
contact, yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, it sounds as if there needs to be a little bit of development of the agendas for each round of meetings, and it's a fairly tight schedule. So I think that if it would be helpful that if people want to put forward presenters or people or contacts for a particular topic, it needs to be done in a fairly short space of time. So is that something we could do, say, within the next, well, before Christmas, effectively, to
No,
put people's
Chair,
names on?
sorry.
It's
it
not.
won't- It won't happen before Christmas.
So I'm just trying to think, because if you're, okay, so it's going to be after Christmas, that's fine. It just means that if we're introducing people to the process, that they need to be put into the agenda, and agenda can be quite.
Chairman, we'd welcome, any input of information before Christmas, but that's no guarantee that something's going to be done on it before Christmas.
Thank you for
We're
clarifying that.
We're Monday now, and Christmas is the weekend, so.
I appreciate that. I'm just conscious that we want to move this forward, and there is a bureaucratic process, or at least there are processes behind this to get agendas out in good time, to make sure everybody is ready for the meeting. So I'm certainly concerned with the first meeting, that if we are putting names forward, that it is best done sooner rather than later. Okay, thank you. Is there, so I think we've agreed a rough timescale for the first meeting. We want to introduce various partners into each of the topics for the meetings. Is there anything else anybody wants to say about the work programme? Thank you, Councillor Dodd.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Just one observation from me from the programme, and I can understand why it's inward focus, because absolutely we've got to get our house in order as the council. But one of the things we did when we declared a climate emergency, and we brought forward the programme of work around the green agenda and put the funding into it, we recognised previously as a council that actually we're just a small part of the impact and small part of the solution in West Norfolk, if you think around, the residents and the businesses and various others. So it's something in this for me around, and someone will come up with better wording or thoughts on this one for me, but there's something around, as we go through this process and do some learning, how we can actually promulgate that out into businesses and the community. So as an example, this was a really useful document that I got today and saw for the first time. There will probably be people out there that want to do that on their own housing, or developers that want to do it on their buildings, or even businesses that want to do it on their estate. So I just want to make sure that we're not too introvert on this, that we're kind of looking outwards and what we can do to get others doing the type of work we say. Because as you know, Chair, from your portfolio, the green agenda is quite confusing, and lots of people want to do the right thing, and there's lots of people trying to sell them products that may not necessarily be the best products. And we've got an opportunity here as we go through this programme, not only to get our act in order, but actually signpost it for others. And it's how we capture that in our work programme, because I think that would be really beneficial.
Thank you, Councillor Dunn. Officer Ashworth.
I think looking at the urban wildlife recommendations, that's about 2 or 3 of those, weren't there, that actually we're on that basis about getting that information out there. And obviously that's something that we're looking at in the next meeting. So I think we'll kind of come on to that, I think, naturally in the next meeting.
It does, if I may, it does beg a question whether we should consider recommendation to put our recommendations as they go forward out to consultation, so that we can draw in the wider community. Is that something we should be looking? Is that something we should be looking to do? And if so, at what point?
I think the challenge about going out to community consultation, while it's always good, danger is it might delay things, and we've got to we've got to cover the ground fairly quickly in relation to our own work. I think if we're talking around once we've actually done the work ourselves, we're going to identify some low-hanging fruits, some quick wins, aren't we? To go on to, but then if there's ones that have got big budget implications or moving council services or whatever, that might be a more formal piece of work with consultation if it's going to have big budgetary and financial impact. But I think a lot of this, as we get into it, will be things that are actually obvious if you actually you looked and you were told. So I'm not too sure whether the benefits of going out to consultation and all outweigh the need for speed on it, if that makes sense.
Okay, anyone else?
I don't necessarily disagree with that. One thing I would say is that this is a good news story as well. You know, this is a positive. You know, this is good for wildlife. It's good for people. It's good for West Norfolk. Can be good for business. Good for the tourism industry. I just think it's a good story, and you know, there's so many positives associated with what we're hoping to do and achieve that I think we've just got to let people know what we're planning. But people do need some guidance. It's not fair of me to use an example, but I will use an example. Lovell's took a great initiative in Hunstanton. Councillor DeMolly and I went on. They installed Sparrow bricks in the new build by the the old station. A terrific initiative, and there's no criticism on Lovell's at all. But I did ask why maybe they thought about Swift's bricks, and they said, well, we were told that Swifts don't nest in this part of the world. The irony being is that one of the only locations in the country where Swifts don't nest in buildings is on Hunstanton Cliffs. So it's just lack of understanding. It's no criticism of Lovell's at all, but I'm just saying people, organisations, companies need guidance, and that's where, you know, we've got great resources, and not only within the borough, but we can draw on these resources. So it's a great news story. I think it's good for everybody. It's a win-win-win. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Bullen. Is there anything anybody else wants to say on the work programme? Okay, so we're as far as I can see, we're happy with the proposed work programme. We are looking to dates of meetings yet to be determined. Somewhere, the first one being somewhere 4 to 6 weeks. Recommendations will be put for those who wish for partners to make input into this process as early as possible for each round. We're looking to three meetings followed by a final meeting, which will determine a report to be presented via E&C panel to Cabinet. Everybody happy with that? Excellent, thank you. That then leads me on to that's it. That's the end of the meeting. Thank you very much for attending.